Hi, everybody. I know it's been a really long time since I've been on here, but the world is a little crazy right now. And what happened was, I thought all the shows were on a break. I didn't think anything was going to be on, and I just kind of got caught up in watching stuff on Netflix and Hulu. And, girl, just wasn't reviewing anything because all my shows had stopped. But then I went to my DVR because I was just like, well, let me just clear my DVR out. And I seen that there was stuff. There was new stuff. And I said, we're back in business. So I am back to record some new content. I'm so happy. I can stop watching old shows and we can watch something new. So today I am here to do two shows. I am behind just a little later than I would normally review some of this stuff, just because I just didn't know it was going to be back. So, but nonetheless, we know now. So we'll be on time moving forward. But we're going to do Greenleaf. I decided to do Greenleaf because this was the final season. So I was just like, well, let me just get into this. So this is season 5. I did hear that they were going to do like a spin-off type situation. And I just kind of feel like if you're going to do a spin-off, why not just keep doing the show? But, that was their decision, so we have to just go with it. But this episode was called The First Day. And it picks up where they left off with, okay, H&H is taking over the church. They have told the Greenleafs that you're out, we're in, we're tearing the church down, get your stuff out, or we'll get it out for you. And Bishop and Grace went ahead and went down to the church, and they're down there looking and watching them move all the stuff out. And Grace was kind of like, basically, Dad, why are you here? Like, why are we here watching them do this? Does this not hurt your feelings? Does this not bother you to see them just taking out all our stuff? And at first, Bishop was fine. He was like, we just need to be in the loop. But then when he seen them taking the cross out, that bothered him. He was like, now that bothers me. Now, back at the house, you have Jacob and Carissa still talking about what they're getting ready to do next, because Carissa has found herself, so she believes, in a better position because she told Jacob that she has chlamydia and that she had been cheating. And so Jacob is done. He said, I'm over it. I want a divorce. I need you to get out of my family's house. And she's like, well, you're not going to get rid of me that easily. I found this paper, and it shows here, according to this will, and according to the documents that I have here from my Latin lover, that your family stole this house. This is not really your house anyway. So, if you think you're going to get rid of me, you got another thing coming. I want my cut. And that's all she's been wanting from the beginning. That's all she wanted. She wanted the money. Period. She just wants the money. And Jacob kind of was just like, I don't know what you think this little piece of paper you got here means, but it doesn't mean nothing to me. Like, I'm leaving. You leaving. Somebody got to go. I think he had a little bit of moment of sanity, and he had to sit down and think, maybe I need to be smarter about how I play this. Because if she thinks that she has a loaded bullet, a loaded gun, then I might want to reconsider how I'm talking to her. Let me get my stuff together, so just in case she does have a case against me. So he calmed down, and he said, well, what is it that you think that you have? And what is it that you're expecting to, come out of this little bit of information that you think that you have? And she just simply said, like I said, she wants money. She wants to be compensated in this divorce fairly. But of course, her idea of fairly is not technically fairly. She wants to be overcompensated in this divorce. And so he just kind of leaves. He's like, whatever. Now downstairs, Lady May has thrown shade at Charity, and as she comes into the kitchen to leave to go to work, calling her a traitor to the family, because it is true, Charity did sell the family out to get a job, because she felt like, I deserve to be a pastor just like everybody else in this family. I'm just as good as everybody else. I have more to bring to this ministry other than just music. My issue with Charity is, if you have a calling on your life, and instead of accepting that maybe your calling is the music, she's like, no, I can do more than music. Just be thankful that the Lord blessed you with the gift and the ability to do music, sweetheart. Just be thankful for that. It's just not enough for her. She want to get up there in the pulpit and show y'all that she can deliver a word like her mama, like her daddy, like her sister, like her brother. I'm not the only one in the family that can't preach. Well, we're going to find out. Maybe. Now, Sophia calls her boyfriend, what's the little boy's name? I wrote it down. Roberto. I think that's his name. Anyway, she called her little boyfriend up and was like, hey, I want to come see you. But, I got to be mindful because Nikki's still here. And he was like, why is she still there? And he was like, well, she's still living here. So they have a little brief encounter, conversation, moving on. Now, at the church, Charity's on her way to work. They're getting ready to have a board meeting. And before they go in, Phil, her ex-boyfriend, who is now married to Judy, who is Bob's daughter, who is over H&H, who has taken over the church, pulls her to the side and was like, listen, I'm sorry about what happened. I just want to make sure that we're good and that we're going to be able to present a united front in front of the board that we're about to go in front of. Charity was like, listen, you're my boss and I fought really hard to get this position that I have. I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize it. Let's just go in here and have this meeting. Trust me, I'm going to present a united front when we go in here. Now they get into the meeting and, they're handling business as usual. And as Phil is talking, Charity just jumps in and was like, and I know you guys are wondering, with all the changes that we have going on, we're moving locations, we have the temporary location right now, and all that's going on. But you're wondering, who's going to be giving you that good old word at this temporary location, aren't you? Don't you worry. I will be delivering a great series that I'm going to be teaching and preaching about. And it's about, giving someone your all and not getting what you deserve back. Like, she starts throwing jabs. And Phil's looking at her like, this is not the time or the place for you to be hashing out stuff with me. And he was like, yeah, you can get that great word from Charity every fourth Sunday because I'll be there preaching the other 3. All right. See you guys there. And she was like, and I'll be there too. Don't you worry. I'll be there giving you my 5-part series. It's like, Charity, you did all this to your family and you're an assistant pastor who only gets to preach one Sunday a month. Okay. You should be glad that you did get the 4th Sunday. They could have gave you the 5th Sunday that comes around ever so often. So when she leaves the meeting, she goes to her office and her the music director, the guy who took over for her, he comes in and he tells her basically, listen, I can't deal with all this. I'm resigning. I don't want to be a part of this new hope and harmony direction that they're going in. I just don't want to do that. So now she's in a position where she has to now replace him. She's not going to have that ally there at the church anymore. She's losing again. Now, back at home, you have Grace and AJ, her son, is talking to the lawyer about the charges that he was up against for the robbery at the pharmacy. And they let him know that the charges had been dropped because they had found the guy who really did it. So when they showed Grace the picture of the guy, it was the same guy when she was outside praying for God to show her a sign. He walked up on the property. Now, Grace had a brief moment with the guy, and she was just kind of like, where did you come from? There's no roads around here, because he just came walking out of the woods somewhere. So when she looked at the picture, she was kind of like shocked, like, okay, this wasn't a ghost, because she thought he was a ghost. And so the lawyer was like, you all right? Are you okay? And she was like, no, I'm all right. Do you know who he is? And it was like, he's been accused of some other robberies. This is the guy. But she wanted to know who it was. Like, she wanted to see him, talk to him, because she was like, he's somebody else. But she's not telling them this. It's like, it's more to this. Like, I've seen him before. I know it's something else to this. So we're going to see who this guy is later on, because Grace goes and Grace goes and talks to Rick Fox. But, as far as the show goes, his name is not Rick Fox. I think his name is Noah in the show. They call Rick Fox Noah. But she goes and talks to him and asks him, can you please look into with your contacts and see if you can find out who this is. It's important to me that I try to find out whatever information I can about this. Now, AJ is not fully comfortable with being basically exonerated from these charges, because he says that he really did do it. Now, he didn't say this in front of the lawyer. He was telling his mom, I really did do this, so I hate that somebody's taking the fall for this. So he's still kind of struggling with that. And of course, Grace is looking at like, why are you struggling with this? Just be thankful. It's a blessing. Someone else has taken the fall. He's gone. You're off the hook. Let's just move on with life. But AJ's just like, I'm not okay with that. Somebody had to die for me to be, to get a second chance. I'm just not okay with that. Now, before the lawyer was leaving, Aaron's his name, he was going out to leave, and Jacob catches him, and he was like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? He was like, can you look into this will for me? And he was just like giving him his, a quick little piece of advice about it. He was like, well, based on this, he was like, the best thing that you can do in the situation is try to find a will that supersedes this one to make this one null and void. Or you might want to try to work out your issues with whoever is trying to use this against you. That is my advice to you. So Jacob does go and talk to Mac, because that is who apparently is involved in this situation. Mac is dead and gone. Mac been dead and gone for like 2 seasons now. But Mac has popped back up, and he goes and talks to Mac's old assistant. And while he's sitting there talking to her, he's just like, I just need to find his old paperwork. And they're sitting here talking about it, but he doesn't want to tell her any details about what the paperwork is or why he needs it. And there's a little girl that's in the room, and he's looking at her, and the assistant was like, well, why are you looking at her like that? And he was like, I was just wondering. She's like, is she yours? No, she's not yours. If we were to have a child, I would have never kept it. So we know that Jacob has had a colorful past. He hasn't always been the most honest and faithful person either. So the lady did tell him, he was like, well, I don't know if you're going to find exactly what you're looking for, but I do know that he had a storage locker. I never went to it because I did not want to see what could have possibly been in there, just because we know the type of person he was and the stuff that he was into. But I can give you the location of where it is. So Jacob did go to the storage locker, and it's like full of stuff. And he told the owner of the, at the storage facility, yeah, I'm going to extend this lease out another 6 months, because it's going to take him a while to go through all that paperwork. Now, Charity, I did tell you about Charity's whole thing, I'm sorry. I was looking at my notes. I had skipped ahead. Now, when Grace had went upstairs and was trying to talk to AJ and try to tell him, listen, this is good news. Let's go out and celebrate. Let's go out. I'm gonna call up Sophia and we're gonna go out and just have like family time. Go to dinner. Try to have some fun. And AJ still just kind of like, what's to celebrate? Someone's dead. He was like, well, we're not celebrating that someone's dead. We're celebrating that you have a second chance at life. And he still really can't get into the spirit of it. And then he has a brief moment where he's like, okay, let's do it. And she's like, great, I'll make reservations. And she leaves the room. As soon as she leaves, he goes back into his old habits. He's getting ready to run. He starts to pack his bag, but then he stops and looks at himself in the mirror and he has second thoughts. Now, the ladies from the church come over to the house. Because after they had this board meeting and seen this little interaction between Charity and Phil, they're like, you guys have to come. Y'all have to help us. So now they want the bishop's help. Now they want the bishop to come and save them. But before, you was like, the bishop and Lady May need to get out of here. We don't want nothing to do with the Greenleafs. But now you're at the Greenleaf's door begging for help and saying, how are we going to save our church? So Bishop basically was like, let's just go to God first and let's have a word of prayer and see what he says. So after they leave, Bishop goes and he tells Lady May what happened. Lady May was like, please don't tell me you about to get back involved with that. He was like, no, I have another idea. He was like, we're going to take this one day at a time. And he says he wants to start a church with them. Just them two. They start a church together where they're both involved, where it's no longer he's the head and she's just the wife. He wants to start a church with his wife. He said, but the only way we can do that, we have to first do one thing. We have to go down to the courthouse and get married. So Lady May was just so happy and so moved, and that's what she's been waiting for all these years, is for him to finally see her as an equal and to respect that she has the ability to minister just as well as he does. Like she's an equal, she's a partner. Don't just look at me as just a wife and a mother, Now, they call up all the family members, let everybody know, hey, we're getting married. There's a wedding happening today. So everybody is on their way home. The problem was, while they were out, everybody's doing their own individual thing. I lied to y'all when I said that Rick Fox's name was Roberto. That's Sophia's boyfriend's name. Darius is Rick Fox's name. I'm just looking at my notes again. Because he called Grace and let her know that I know what's really going on with Bob and H and why they're here. They're here and they're so interested in taking over Calvary because he's running for Senate. And it would look good for him to have this African American church and to say that, listen, look, I'm a great option for the Senate seat because, look, I'm involved in this community, I'm involved in that community, I have this church, I have that church, I have ties everywhere. And Grace was like, oh my God, we have to stop him. We have to report this. This is illegal. And they was like, actually, it's a really good strategy. And they was like, but if we can prove that was his true intentions, like that was the only reason why he did this, then we have a case. But if it just shows up that, hey, I came here, I bought the church, I did this, and then the Senate seat was a afterthought, then we don't really have a case. But now we're getting to why it was so important, because no one knew why they were so pressed on getting this church and why they were so impressed in being involved. So this is what it is. And we're going to see how that's going to play out. So Sophia goes to see Roberto. And when she gets there, Nikki's there. And she's like, why is Nikki here? He was like, well, you told me to work things out or see how things were going to be or make sure everything was done. And that's what we're doing. She's like, so y'all are getting back together? He was like, well, no, not necessarily. I'm just trying to make sure everything, all the loose ends are tied up. Sophia, I feel a little bad for her because she's so young and she's just young. And I think she's just young. I don't know no other way to say. She's young. She's really smart and she's really, been the good girl for so long. And it's like, this was the first time she kind of got into a bad boy situation. And her cousin are going back and forth over this. And I hate to see her get hurt. But it just looked like this might be what might be happening or might happen. So as the family is starting to get back to the house, everybody's coming back. Charity makes her last stop and she goes to see Phil to give him the ring back because she was like, there's no need for me to have it at this point. And he's, upset and he's like, no, I want you to keep it. And she was like, what, is a consolation prize? Like, why am I keeping this? And he was like, no, it's a reminder of how much I love you and da-da-da-da-da, et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, this is pointless. Like, you made your choice. So he let the cat out the bag in a sense, saying that the only reason why I'm with Judy is because, Bob made me do it. And this was the only way that I could get the job. Now, that I don't know why he thought telling her that was going to change something and make her be like, oh my God, that's what this is about? Oh, I totally understand. I forgive you. She was like, so getting the job was more important than being with me. And he was like, you have to understand, I've been trying to do this for 20 years of my life. And I mean, I guess in life we all have to make tough decisions. And what you just showed her was what was more important. And that's how she's seen that. And that's why she walked away. So everybody gets to the house and everybody's showing up. They're like, why are you rushing us? Are you really doing this? You guys are really getting married? They're like, yes, we're getting married. And so Charity pulls up and she's like, Dad, do you really want me to be a part of this? And he was like, yes, get in the car. Because the family's been so upset with her. But at that moment, they're like, family is all that matters right now at this moment. So everybody's there except for AJ. So Grace was like, well, where is AJ? And Sophia was like, well, I was just in the house and I didn't see him. So she goes upstairs and she's looking for him and she gets to his bathroom and the door is locked. So she's calling out for him. He doesn't answer. She breaks into the door and this is where we end at and we see that AJ is on the floor. He's cut his wrist. So clearly, if he makes it, there's something deeper there with with AJ not being able to accept the fact that he got a second chance by this other person taking the fall for him. There's something more to this other guy, why Grace is wanting to know so much about who he is. So this is just the first episode. This is, again, the final season. So they have to wrap up all loose ends. I don't know how much they're going to wrap up since they are saying they're going to do another spinoff. So either way, I'll be here to review it. And yeah, we're back in business. Until the next video, stay tuned.